very good evening. Welcome to Face the Nation. My name is Mfundo Mabala, standing in for Clement this evening. It's a pleasure to have you with us on the SABC. Now, on the show tonight, we focus on one of the big stories from this afternoon, a political development that could have a profound impact on the current political landscape. It's the resignation of Floyd Shivambu from the EFF that he co-founded 11 years ago. He's joining the Umkhonto weSizwe Party. We'll be speaking to Umkhonto weSizwe Party spokesperson Ndlela on Shivambu's joining of the party. The big question is, what role will he be playing in the party? Is he going to be going to Parliament, or he'll be confined at the party headquarters to guide policy and strengthen structures? All of that will be answered shortly. We'll also be joined by Mzwanele Manyi, who has also left the EFF to join the MK party. Manyi has been a member of 3 political parties in the space of 5 years. He left the ATM to join the EFF, and now he has joined the MK party, and not forgetting that he had actually initially started as ANC member. After that conversation with Mzwanele Manyi, we'll get analysis from Professor Susan Boyson as well as political analyst Prince Mashele. Then we'll close off the show with the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, David Mahlobo, on the looming water crisis. An ECI Africa report has revealed that South Africa is approaching physical water scarcity in 2025, with the country is expected to experience a deficit of 17% by 2030. The Deputy Minister will share their plans to avert a water crisis if we don't have a crisis on our hands already. But first, my comment. So today's announcement by the EFF and Floyd Shivambu that Floyd Shivambu is leaving the party is a very significant development. Significant in that Floyd is no ordinary second in command. He's been there since the very beginning in 2013. Now, for my part, what I observed at the media briefing today was something out of the ordinary. It's not every day that a party member who resigns will join the officials of his former party in addressing the media and even reveal which party he's joining. Now, does this level of political maturity or tolerance speak to a strength of the Progressive Caucus's agenda? Or what we saw today could be a precursor to an even bigger political move? Listen to what Floyd Shivambu had to say here around his non-renewal not being a vote of no confidence in the EFF.
My non-renewal of EFF membership is not a vote of no confidence in the organization, but a revolutionary act that will allow progressive forces to unite and work towards the agenda for progressive and revolutionary change. I have never in my service of the organization acted outside its democratic and revolutionary decisions, discipline and practice.
He says it's a revolutionary act that will allow progressive forces to unite. He then re-emphasizes that point of this decision being revolutionary. Listen again to this part.
My sincere plea is that in its reflection of the decision that I have taken, the organization should also avoid mischaracterization of an otherwise revolutionary and disciplined decision to not renew membership of the EFF, and the request that I must be released from all areas that I'm deployed on behalf of the EFF.
Now, this emphasis on this being a revolutionary decision could possibly suggest a bigger cause. Are we likely to see an amalgamation of these two parties in months to come? Is Floyd going to give it the public intellectual depth that some say it needs to assist them in changing the anti-constitutionalism narrative, to help draft perhaps the policy that will have them play within the ambit of the law and constitution so that their offering as a political party is more appealing to the people? Well, those are just my thoughts, but let's hear what the experts have to say. The question we're asking, though, tonight is, what do you make of Floyd Shivambu's resignation from the EFF? Please send us WhatsApp voice notes on 078-459-1897. Remember to tell us your name and surname and share exactly where you're sending the voice note from. And please keep it at 30 seconds. Or send us on X. It's at Face the Nation SABC. All right. All right, we take it to our first guest now. We're joined by the Umkhonto weSizwe Party, which has welcomed former economic freedom fighter members Floyd Shivambu and Mzwanele Manyi to the party. But will Shivambu's move strengthen the agenda of the Progressive Caucus? MK spokesperson Hlamulo Ndlela joins us live via Teams. Good evening, Mr. Ndlela. Thank you very much for joining us on Face the Nation. Can you firstly share with us the MK Party's position on your new party members, Floyd Shivambu and Mzwanele Manyi?
Good evening to yourself and good evening to your viewers. I think let me just start with your opening comments. That creates an impression that, the incoming of Floyd Shivambu is going to now change the narrative of our people that voted for us and that we will now move from being seen as anti-constitutionalists, which is not the case. We've always said that we're going to change the law within the law. But and stuck to the fact that this constitution does not meet the rights, and no more so the agenda of emancipating our people organically. So I just wanted to clarify that as your opening. That's why we had such a resounding response at the time, being a 4-month-old party. So having cleared that, as you know, we have an interim structure as MK Party, and we are all volunteers. Nothing will be any different with anyone that is being onboarded. In this case, of very highly recognized, with a lot of experience, intelligent politicians such as Floyd, including Mzwanele Manyi, are obviously going to bolster us. There's no doubt about that. We've continued to say that we will work with the EFF inside and outside of Parliament, and then we'll form a progressive caucus, which is now also governed by a charter in terms of the program. So naturally, as is the case with the President Zuma, he himself was a member of the ANC, wanted to, in this case, form Umkhonto weSizwe, because for him, his reasons was that the ANC of Ramaphosa did not meet, its obligations to the people, and formed MK Party. That is the case. The Bill of Rights allow you, as a person, a citizen, to vote and campaign and associate with every political party, which is no different in this case to these comrades who are already part of the political, the Progressive Caucus in the political sphere.
Just for clarity, Hlamulo, you say that you're all volunteers right now. It's essentially an interim structure. But just for clarity, will Floyd Shivambu be occupying any specific position? Because he stated today that there was no position spoken of or any commitments made. He's merely coming in to help shape the direction of the political party. But perhaps that could have been out of respect for the platform he was on today, because he was at the Winnie Madikizela house. Is this in fact the case, that no position has been spoken of for now?
Indeed, it's correct. No position has been spoken of for now. As you would know, with all members of MK, we leverage, first we identify where your strengths are, and where we can actually leverage them to bolster and strengthen the party within the party structure. So that discussion is going to be had with him, including Manyi, and determination will then be concluded as to what role they play. And that's that.
All right. Is there a possibility that perhaps they could be among the 18 MPs that could soon be joining Parliament? Or is there a possibility to perhaps use his skills within the party's headquarters, perhaps as stated, to draft policy and stabilize or strengthen branches?
Well, the possibilities are endless, isn't it? Umkhonto weSizwe is definitely today, especially us being the official opposition in Parliament. We were in effect the holy grail for any politician at this point in time who would want to participate, whether it be from a policy perspective, at a party level, or even in Parliament. So until, we sit down and make a determination which areas we believe strategically they can play a role, and that will be the case. Until then, it'll be speculation. Yeah.
How did this move come about? Was the MK Party courting these members, or they approached you? How did this come about?
Well, we've always said before the elections, and even before let's say, in the early stages of the formation of Umkhonto weSizwe, we've been engaging with multiple parties whom we believed had progressive policies, to form a united front with us. That was before the elections, during the elections, even after the elections. So we've always been having these conversations with other parties, your ACTs, your EFFs, your ATMs, all these parties are political parties that we've been engaging with. So one cannot now want to create an impression as if it happened only after the elections. No, there's always been going conversations. Now, as to when the comrades made their decision to join MK Party, now that's a different story.
And what is that story? Did Floyd Shivambu meet with the former president, the leader of the MK Party?
Well, it's not an issue of Floyd Shivambu having met the president. Like I said, any political, any citizen, whether you form part of a political party or not, you make your decision at the right time. When you feel it's the right time, you make that decision. Do you have to lobby? Not necessarily. And that's that. We have been engaging, like I said. President Zuma knows Floyd, President Zuma knows Manyi, President Zuma knows Malema. And they're no doubt Progressive Party colleagues and comrades. So there's nothing untoward in meeting and having discussions.
Theories abound, though, because when you look at Mzwanele Manyi and his proximity to the former president, he enjoys a very good relationship with the former president. Could he have been the one that, when deciding to join the MK Party, have been the one that facilitated the move for the EFF's deputy president?
Well, as I said, the deputy president of the EFF, in this case Floyd, knows the president. Why would he have to go through Manyi, for instance? No. Why would anyone have to go through anyone? And they know, and they've got a relationship with President Zuma. No. As to whether they met, that's a discussion that you need to have with Floyd. Maybe he can share that with you. But from where we're sitting, we're not aware of any of that. Besides the fact that we've always been engaging with the leadership, as is the case. Remember, we have caucuses in Parliament. We've been having caucuses. We've been having discussions with them. They do, when they have to, meet the president. And whenever they've needed to meet the president, they do meet the president. There's nothing untoward or sinister.
Then in closing, Hlamulo, you started off by addressing or clarifying my comment. There's a number of political analysts, I'm sure you've seen the analysis throughout the day. There's a number of theories, among them being that possibly this indeed is a precursor to a bigger political move where there could be some sort of amalgamation. Just take us through that, your response to those type of comments or theories that some are saying there is something bigger than just what we saw today. It's highly unlikely that you would see a deputy president being part of a press conference and then it's almost like a farewell party, but everything was so amicable that they are of the view that something else could possibly be happening here. Your response as a political party?
Well, I guess here's the response, that there is something bigger. The reality is there was an opportunity that the leader of the ANC had to form part of what we call in a three-spear formation, MK, EFF, and the ANC. We'd be having a completely different discussion now. But instead, he decided to take the black vote and he gave it to a racist party led by Helen Zille, and that was merely to save his own skin. And that's just the reality. So sadly, that's how it turned out. If there was anything that could have happened and should have happened, without his Faustian pact and him taking the ANC, the organic ANC and making it his to save his own skin, wouldn't be in this situation. The black parties which represent South Africans, and it's not just because they see us as just black parties. These are parties that are led by black politicians. These parties would have had two-thirds majority to, effect the changes that are needed. And that's that.
Mr. Ndlela, thank you very much for your time this evening. That's MK spokesperson Hlamulo Ndlela speaking to us. More to come in just a bit. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, the question we're asking tonight is, what do you make of Floyd Shivambu's resignation from the EFF? Let's take a look at some of your tweets and voice notes. All right, the first tweet is from Michael Helu. He says, I never anticipated it. It came as a shock to me, even though I knew that there were leadership battles between Floyd and Julius. Manyi's departure was expected. All right, Mahauta says, Tobela Batuba Khesu. I'm so happy for Floyd Shivambu to join MKP. Even though I'm not MKP member, I can smell that this is the beginning. More EFF members will follow. EFF should change its policies otherwise. Hashtag SABC Sonia. And then Noko says, to be honest, Mfundo, his departure is an unexpected bombshell and an unscheduled load shedding in the EFF arena. EFF is currently earthquaked as we speak. And then I think it's Lese Homolo. He says, I do support Floyd Shivambu's decision to resign from EFF because it's alleged that Malema is a dictator and doesn't want to be told. Imagine Floyd Shivambu being DP for 10 years. All right. All right, some very interesting tweets there. Do keep them coming. We want to get more of your views, but let's listen to some of your voice notes as well.
Good evening. My name is Raisen Goveni. I'm from Guyana. My opinion about Shivambu moving from EFF to MK Party. I think this is the end for EFF. It's what I think is the end for EFF because the founder, he cannot leave this party and go to the other party. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kolani Buka from Kabeja. For the EFF to lose a comrade in the caliber of Nico Shivambu, it's a big loss and a big gain for MK. Floyd was the engine of the EFF, and I think the future is blank. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Nomfundo. I think this is the end of EFF, if not the end of Malema. Malema and Floyd were politically interdependent, so I don't see Malema succeeding without Floyd. And I think another own goal that was got by Malema was going to Nkandla and drinking tea with Zuma. So see what Zuma is doing to him now. All EFF prominent members will go to MK. Thank you very much, Peter Maila Machaba from Leswata.
This is Stephen Matsiko. My view on this is that given that even the entire country, when it comes to Floyd Shivambu, everyone knows Floyd Shivambu is that person who is smart, and this is a planned, program to strengthen the relationship between EFF and MK. They must not act shocked. They knew what they are doing, and Floyd is deployed to MK to ensure that comes next elections, these two organizations forms a very strong coalition. And this is also to balance the energy of both MK Party and EFF, because you can see in the MK that there's also a little bit of indiscipline, tendencies and inexperienced parliamentary members. So Shivambu will be very useful there as a member of MK.
All right, there you have it, some interesting voice notes as well. Well, Parliament spokesperson Mulota Mutapo says Parliament received Mzwanele Manyi's resignation on Monday. Meanwhile, the MK party says Floyd Shivambu and Mzwanele Manyi's defection from the EFF to the MK party will bolster the new party as an opposition. Now, what prompted Manyi to leave a party he joined not so long ago? Well, he's facing the nation tonight. Good evening, Mr. Manyi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Mfundo. Progressive color in your dress.
What a coincidence. What a coincidence. I thought of changing it last minute, but because I was here already. But nevertheless, it is green tonight. It seems you've reunited now with the former president. Everybody knows you have enjoyed a good relationship with the president. And as you saw some of those tweets, they said when it comes to you, it was almost expected that you would move.
Yeah, indeed. I think they are correct. Me and President Zuma, we died together. I think I'm here to assist His Excellency President Zuma to complete his mission. He was disrupted from a very good job that was doing in government. When he started to take over in government, he found South Africa with dying people. You know, every weekend we're burying people because of HIV and AIDS, because of the posture of the previous administration to treat this thing. President Zuma came, we got the rollout program of what's it called this thing, of these ARVs, and before you know, the country's rate of living was actually improved. Built hospitals, built spaghetti, highways, everything. You know, I mean, for somebody without formal education to prioritize building of universities was no mean feat. So you can see that we've got a person with a vision. This is a person that started even the Black Industrialist program in the country. A lot of my friends that I speak to today, they say to me they are who they are because of the Zuma era, the opportunities that were there. People had firms and all of that. Even SMEs were alive during the Zuma era. So we are here now to make sure that we resuscitate that and we get South Africa back on.
You speak so confidently, it's like you never left his side. But not so long ago, you professed your loyalty to the EFF. Not so long before that, it was the ATM. And at every single press briefing, you stated that what they stood for resonated with you. What has changed?
Mfundo, you know, you and I are on the same WhatsApp group. You and ANN7, you at ENCA, now at SABC. So you and I can't have this discussion.
No.
But bottom line is that the important thing here is that all of these parties that we've mentioned are parties on the left, are parties with a particular socialist posture, are parties with a particular ideology. So I'm at home. It's almost like you are...
If you were at home, then you would have stayed with the economic freedom fighters, meaning there is some sort of a distinction. What made you leave?
It's almost like you querying me being a Christian, that you went from Methodists to Apostles to Sabbath. They all have the same kind of thinking in terms of what it is that they stand for in the Christian space. The person that we're fighting for is the devil. That's what we're trying to fight for, the devil. So see it that way.
But we cannot, because there must be something that distinguishes them. Yes, they may be somewhat similar.
Yes.
So
let's get to that.
What distinguished the MK now from the EFF to see you leaving the EFF?
You see, what the most distinguishing feature about the MK party is its approach in terms of Afrocentrism. MK party wants to ensure that South Africa becomes an African country, not an outpost of Europe. What MK party wants to do now is to focus on changing the constitution to ensure that things like, for instance, African law take their right level in society. What we have now, we've got a generalization of our African law by the Roman Dutch law. We want to make sure that we change that. I want to make sure that even the issue of education system is matched to the skills required by the economy. We have a lot of unemployed graduates right now because there's a mismatch in terms of skills being developed versus the opportunities that are there. Now we have a party like a MK party that is saying, let's make sure that we develop people to fit in with the economy. We have an MK party that is saying that in order to have a job creation in this country, let's embark on a serious industrialization program to ensure that jobs are created and all of that. So indeed, this is a party that is revitalizing hopes, and everybody should join MK party.
We heard that you resigned on Monday.
Yes.
And today, when listening to the press briefing, the EFF leader Julius Malema stated that you sought his audience, but unfortunately the Secretary General denied you this, and you ended up being somebody who left without having spoken to him. How did that make you feel? Because when you were being welcomed to the EFF, he spoke highly of you, your views, and your professionalism, or where you've been as a professional who was deployed into government by the African National Congress. How did that make you feel to hear now that you couldn't get his audience, maybe when you wanted to speak about your departure?
Look, I sleep peacefully, knowing that I've done my part. I did the right thing so that I don't live like we've fought. That shows that myself and the EFF have got no war. There's no beef between me and the CIC and anyone else in the EFF. Everybody, there's actually no issues. It's just that I now want to assist His Excellency President Zuma to achieve his mission. And President Zuma requires a lot of us that he knows what is it that we're capable of to help him to achieve his mission. So that's really the main thing. So whatever happened there is fine. And in fact, having discovered today that Floyd was resigning, I actually maybe understand.
Did you discover today?
I also discovered today. I didn't know. So I now know that perhaps they were busy. That is a much bigger challenge that he was faced with. Floyd was a co-founder of the EFF. So for him to leave, I'm sure there's been a much more important discussion. So I don't take it personally. It's just one of those things. But
Were you
the bottom line,
or did you approach the Mkhonto Wesizwe party? Did they speak to you?
No, look, I think, you see, I think here's the thing. It's Mfundo. I continue to be the spokesperson of the foundation. So His Excellency President Zuma and myself, we have ongoing discussions. And we've been talking about this. Basically, the door has long been open for me to join MK party. It was up to me.
Were you aware that he was forming a party then? Because possibly then you wouldn't have joined the Economic Freedom Fighters.
No, when
he did not catch you off guard there.
I'm not going to lie. When I left, I didn't know. But the issue is I then knew soon enough that I could have just gone there. And the main reason actually I didn't go, because President Zuma was very hell-bent on wanting to rescue the ANC from, I mean, in his press briefing was saying the ANC is led by sellouts and all of this. He wants to
and this is more of a holding party for the ANC once it's renewed itself.
Yeah, something like that. Yes. So, and I knew that ANC is a spent force, and I wasn't going to go there to a spent force. But with things where they are now, it's very clear that even if President Zuma wanted that, it's not achievable. And right now, the big thing now is for President Zuma to save South Africa. ANC is really, you can look at all the numbers, it's going down like you can't believe. As we sit right now in the last elections, for them to get 40%, it's actually a 30% drop from 57%. And sometimes people have a problem with these numbers. It's 57 to 40, 17 percentage points, but actual absolute drop in percentage is 30%. So the ANC has had a serious drop of 30%, and it's been dropping, by the way. The last time the ANC had the highest points was in 2004.
When you say it's dropped by 30%, yeah. What do you mean?
The electoral support of the ANC was 57%. To drop from 57 to 40% is 17 percentage points.
Yes.
But 17 percentage points is actually 30%, because what you then do is you take 17 divided by 57 times 100, that's 30%. That's how you get to 30% drop. So the actual drop of the ANC from 2019 to date is actually 30%. That is huge.
I want to take you back to, just in the interest of time.
Yeah.
You're saying that the door was always open for you to join the MK party. Did you facilitate the move of Floyd Shivambu? Yes.
No, I didn't. I'm honest when I say to you, I didn't know. Some of the people thought I knew. Get all kinds of SMSs from the last night already.
Yes.
When this thing was out there. And I honestly didn't know. You must remember that I was not serving in any structure in the EFF. I was just a ground force. I'm not in the CCT. I'm not in anything. Call it anything. I'm not there. I'm just a ground force. So I'm not in meetings of the EFF leadership and all of that. So I would not even have caught wind.
But your proximity to the former president would probably mean that you would know what his plans were with some members of the EFF, would it not?
Even if I did it, I would not be at liberty to disclose that to you.
All right, fair enough. But then now there's a theory. A number of experts today have shared their views on what could possibly be happening. Some, as you heard here, saying this spells the end of the economic freedom fighters. The president, Julius Malema, said it's the biggest test of their life, and they must actually pass this test if they are to survive. But there are those experts that are saying this is in fact a precursor to a much bigger political move, which is possibly the amalgamation. You also heard that voice note, the amalgamation of these two political parties at some point, that perhaps Floyd Shivambu here has been deployed to the MK party. He will put great structures, bring the public intellectual depth that's needed. There'll be greater policy. You're joining him there to draft the policy. And then after that, you've got two solid left political parties that come the next election will come together. and propel, if not the MK, to become a more 20% party?
MK on its own is headed for 2/3 majority on its own. And if we fail to get that, any other top-up that is progressive will welcome. But I think if you know MK, a party that within 6 months has achieved the kind of a percentage that it has achieved, it's not impossible for the MK to get 60% in the next elections. You must remember that the MK is actually the progressive element of the ANC. So it's already got a lot of ground forces out there that didn't have a home, that were frustrated in the ANC because the ANC has become this unrecognizable thing. So for the MK...
But there's criticism right now of how the MK has used the vote that it had now, that it's been stubborn, it didn't want to collaborate with other political parties. So, I mean, that for some could say, beyond this goodwill, it could just go down. It could be a decline from here on out.
The very same people are the same people that said when President Zuma was starting this MK, they said it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to probably be a 1% or 2% party, and look what it did. So those kinds of talks, we know them. They are talks that meant to discourage the MK. But the fact of the matter is that if you go to the ground, President Zuma is the most popular man. He is a man of the people. He blends with the people. People just love him. And one of the reasons
but popularity alone will not change the trajectory of our economy.
No, but...
So they've got to be policies that people can speak to.
But if you look at, you can go index by index, and you look at the track record of President Zuma versus President Ramaphosa, it doesn't matter whether you look at cost-to-income ratio of the country, President Zuma tops. You look at unemployment, President Zuma tops. You look at the growth of the economy, President Zuma, everything, spec for spec. I don't care which index you look at, President Zuma has always been better than President Ramaphosa. So indeed, people want that to continue, and we are there to assist President Zuma in that mission.
In closing, are you going to Parliament?
I'm at the mercy of MK Party. So MK Party will deploy me wherever they deploy me. I'm not there for positions. I'm there to assist the party. If the MK Party says go to Parliament, I'll go to Parliament. If the MK Party say go to headquarters and assist there, I'll go there. So I'm at the mercy of the MK Party. It will decide how it wants to use my resources.
All right. Mr. Manyi, thank you very much for joining us this evening. That is Mzwanele Manyi, who's now a member of the Umkhonto weSizwe Party, speaking to us. More when we come back.
Stories Untold is about individuals who are strong, brave, and resilient. It's about individuals who take responsibility for their lives and believe in second chances.
We amplify the voice of the marginalized. We are a platform of recovery, a platform of hope, a platform of victory.
An absolute pleasure and a privilege to trailblaze content that boasts of inclusion, the type that represents stories of everyday Africans who do extraordinary things.
We all have a purpose on the universe. What's yours?
Catch Stories Untold on the SABC News channel every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
The Full View, where accuracy meets fearlessness in every report.
We're committed to going beyond the headlines, ensuring you get the complete picture.
From breaking news to uncovering the truth while holding those in power to account.
Navigate the terrain of local and international sports,
while keeping you abreast with real-time weather updates.
So, get a comprehensive look of the world around you.
Trust us to give you
the full view. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, EFF leader Julius Malema says that the door will always be open for former Deputy President Floyd Shivambu to return to the party. Now, this is despite the EFF constitution being opposed to members of the party who resign to join other parties to return. To unpack these new developments, I'm joined by political analyst Professor Susan Boyson and Prince Mashele. Good evening to the both of you. Thank you very much for joining us on Face the Nation.
Good evening.
No, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Very interesting developments politically. Let's start with you, Professor. Your reaction to just what we heard this afternoon?
Well, at first I had a what reaction. Couldn't believe that that was actually happening because teams seem to be tight in the EFF. Things have not been going well for the EFF, and we know there isn't much space for Floyd Shivambu to rise in the ranks. But still, we had the sense that everything was roughly okay. But then, as the day proceeded, I first became convinced that there must be a bigger strategy, there must be a big plan, because it would make very much sense if there were a big plan, if there was some connivance between MK Party and the EFF. Like we know, this is a party that the MK Party is strong in some ways, momentum, numbers in parliament, and yet weak in other ways. And let's make sure that if that leadership, some things go wrong in the party and leadership implodes, etc., that this big, stunning constituency could be carried for the EFF. That would make such great sense. But then as the denials and the personal stories emerged through later in the day, one started wondering, was it not a personal breakout decision by Floyd Shivambu to actually go somewhere where there is more space for him as a person, as a direct leader, maybe some space created there.
Especially because of the stories that started to surface around the elective conference that's coming up, that possibly his position could be contested by the current Secretary General, Marshal Dlamini. One wonders then, what could have been happening? Prince, your views on what we've seen today and what possibly could be happening?
Let's start here. This stuff in politics is not surprising. It happens. Let's start next door in Zimbabwe. Mugabe and Mnangagwa, president and deputy president, had a massive fallout. Mnangagwa had to walk on foot from Zimbabwe through Mozambique to South Africa. That's one. Let's come back to South Africa. You had Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma, president and deputy president, massive fallout. We have seen that. Outside the ANC COP, you had Mbazi Mashilowa and Muswali Kota, president and deputy president, massive fallout. So this is a fallout of young chaps. They are not the first to fall out. But here is the thing. When people who have been close fall out, whatever they built together will never be the same again. So what does this mean? This is the end of the EFF. It is actually, the EFF is being phased out of South African politics. It will take a good 10 years for it to disappear completely, but it will disappear. Julius Malema was the face of the EFF. Floyd Shivambu was the brain of the EFF. So you now have an EFF that is left only with a face. Even that face, by the way, is not looking good. You saw at the press conference, the guy has even lost weight in a day. The brain is gone. So if we are looking at the future of South Africa, we must think of the EFF as a thing of the past.
You've mentioned 2 points that maybe I want us to tackle, the face and the brain. If you are to form a political party, you need both in actual fact, because what we've ever often heard about Floyd is that he brings that intellectual depth, but Julius Malema is the mobilizer. You cannot have one without the other if you're going to form a strong, formidable opposition in this country. You need both. That's the first one. But the second, the examples that you've given us of the fallouts, whether it be Thabo Mbeki and former President Jacob Zuma, Mnangagwa and Robert Mugabe, in these instances, it seemed that the fallout was not confusing, it was apparent. But here, never have we seen what we saw today, which is a fallout where both men are so cordial. They hold a press briefing together. You even have the deputy president stating where he is going. That for some was quite peculiar, wouldn't you say?
No, it's not. Let's first address your first point. You're correct. You do need a face and a brain. in any political project for it to be successful. That's why Julius and Floyd, they knew this from the beginning, that we have different roles. Julius, you are the face, you are the loud mouth. Floyd, you are the guy who must sit behind a computer and write 7 cardinals and principles, whatever they call that.
The cardinal pillars.
Exactly. So yes, but that is broken. Now we've got a hollow head that is there, it's a face, and there's no brain. So let's park that. But let's come to the second point you are making about the cordiality of their divorce. You know why? Because they know each other so well that they are aware that they cannot afford to spill beans about each other. These people have done a lot together, including corruption. Remember, they attended that meeting with Matodzi to accept bribes from VBS together. So Floyd knows.
According to Matodzi, of course, because we need to remain fair, that in their absence here, we cannot say, remember, they had the meeting. According to Matodzi,
but no one has denied that meeting, by the way. Dalim Pofi confirmed that that meeting took place. They themselves have not denied that meeting.
But the contents thereof, what was discussed.
That the money actually flowed. Nobody has denied that. The point of dispute, was it a bribe?
Yes, or a donation.
Exactly.
Yes.
I call it a bribe. I'll die for my sins. Don't worry about me. So here's the thing. They've done a lot together, these two. So they know they cannot afford to spill beans about each other. That's why they have to be cordial. You can put a gun to Floyd's head. He will never tell you what Julius did, because he knows if he were to do that, he would be implicating himself. So that's why I was not surprised. They will defend each other to the grave, because they know that if they were to spill beans, that would actually be suicide on both their part.
So you believe the theory by some, just like Professor Susan Boyson stated, that she also was entertaining that theory, that possibly there's a grand plan here of some sort of amalgamation of these two political parties. You say there's nothing of that sort.
No, there isn't.
They've had a fallout.
No, it's a genuine fallout. Here's the thing. Floyd is going to MK. You see, people must not read a lot into this MK stuff. Floyd had very few options. One, he couldn't form his own party. He doesn't have the money and the means to form his party. Number two, he's not even a charismatic man. So he knew he wouldn't go that route. That's option number one that he had. Option number two is to go back to the ANC. He has enough enemies in the ANC to go back there. And also, the list of ANC unemployed people from parliament, the previous parliament, who are there one position, is so long that Floyd knew that he was going to be at the back. The only option was, where does he find a political home that will protect him? Because remember, you could be arrested by the way, there's a VBS. My theory.
How would Mkhonto we Sizwe protect him when you've got the former president or the president of Mkhonto we Sizwe currently in the courts?
Exactly.
Why would he be protected?
He looked for a home where you have a largest concentration of people who are facing criminal stuff from the president himself. So if you go to a home like that, you can be protected.
No, but the EFF, they've actually had their own president, their own leader has sat in a court bench. So they don't have a step-aside policy. So surely, I don't know, Professor, your views on this. I mean, if it's just now going to be the situation that he left because in the MK party, he would be protected or at least supported when he attends some sort of court cases. The former president is not protected. He is attending and present at all his court cases. And even in the EFF, they don't have a step-aside policy. So even if he were to be charged, some would assume that surely nothing would happen there. They wouldn't discipline him or remove him.
There's certainly enough people with possible charges or real charges against them in the MK party to make him feel at home. And there's people of similar orientations, similarly endangered in one party, but he wouldn't have protection because the fellow party members and leaders cannot guarantee that kind of protection. But yes, he would be only just so many other political parties have so many people with so many charges possible or real against them. But MK party does have a particular quota of those. And the party, we know the stories recently with the MPs that are being recalled, replaced, MPLs, the rumors are in KwaZulu-Natal, several of them are being recalled, and there is a big need in that party for anybody of people with experience in Parliament to come in and assist and help lead that party. So there's certainly a lot of space for people like Floyd.
But not necessarily protection.
Yeah,
although Mr. Mashele is adamant that there is protection.
No, let me explain this protection I'm talking about. You see, because if I don't explain, you will think that I mean that the MK party can instruct the NPA not to act. That's not what I mean. Even Zuma, by the way, the MK party, how does Zuma protect the MK party? They simply organize crowds to go to the court and toy outside the court whenever he appears.
But it's of no consequence.
It would be lonely for a poor Floyd if he were to be charged by the NPA. And I think he's going to be charged given what I've seen with the Matodzi affidavit. He goes to court alone. There's no political party that's singing outside. You see, these chaps are used to that kind of life where they command the masses. They have political support. So he can only find that in the MK. In the EFF, he could find it before he had a fallout. Remember, my starting point is there has been a genuine fallout, and he recognized that there is no way that he can coexist with Julius within the EFF. So what does he do when there's he had to leave? So he must look for another political party that can
can sing outside court.
Exactly.
And then if you're found guilty of whatever,
you go to
it's
jail.
Besides the point. But you had comrades singing outside. For some, that would seem quite shallow. That you would really go to the MK party purely just so that they will have no influence on the MK, on the NPA, but the fact that they'll just be singing outside while you're inside the court.
There's another thing. You want me to mention more?
Yes.
You watch the space. Call me if it doesn't happen. You will be given a job in Parliament. Which other party would give Floyd the job in Parliament outside the EFF? Absolutely none. So he knows that. His salary is going to be replaced. Remember, as we speak now, if he were to spend a month without being employed, the guy will actually be broke. He's unlike you. You have a salary at the end of the month. He will not have a salary. So the MK is going to give him a salary. He calculated also that is actually a big factor. So it's not only about protection outside court. It's also the real stuff of the stomach.
Politics of the stomach, Professor? You think that that's probably what motivated his move?
Yes, in a big way. But more than that, the possibility to be a leader and to rise possibly to higher leadership positions in a party that is now the official opposition in Parliament, in a party that has got momentum, that has been taking territory off the EFF in the last election. We can remember just towards the end of last year still the EFF had been expected to be growing and maybe even displace the DA as the biggest opposition party. But it was the MK party that came and it ate into that potential support of the EFF. So it is, at this stage, it is such a wonderful vehicle for a person with ambition, with some abilities to grab that and to run into that party because it has got such a need for stronger leadership. We don't know how long former President Jacob Zuma is going to last as the leader of that party. The sky is almost the limit in that party, and I'm sure Floyd Shivambu sees that.
And then what of the EFF, just in closing? Because there are those that say that once a party starts to experience this level of decline, it can never change its fortunes.
We have seen in the case of the ANC just hasn't got a good reputation at all for winning back support. In the case of COPE, it won back a modest amount of support. And when there were other breakaways, once those people have severed those bonds and the voting bonds, electoral support bonds with a big party, especially the ANC in that type of constituency, they hardly ever go back. So that is a big potential constituency sitting out there. And if the MK party is organized well and well led, then that will be available there. And so it's a good strategic move for somebody with that kind of ambition to go there. And Floyd may in due course, over an election or two, a number of years, there may even be a merger between MK party and EFF, even if it isn't part of the plan now.
Mr. Mashele?
Because party politics is fluid.
Mr. Mashele, in 30 seconds, your closing remarks.
Look, this is the end of the EFF. There's no party formed after 1994 in South Africa that lost support and regained it. So forget the EFF is gone. MK party is actually not a party of the future, and Floyd actually is not going to drive anything there. MK party is a Zulu nationalist party. Hlophe told us, he said he didn't join the EFF because the MK party is closest to the Zulu monarch, and Floyd is not Zulu. So he's going to be treated with suspicion. He's not going to drive anything there. He's actually naive if he thinks he's going to be at the core of that party.
Thank you very much to the both of you. That was political analyst Professor Susan Boyson and Prince Mashele speaking to us. The question we've been asking tonight is, what do you make of Floyd Shivambu's resignation from the EFF? Let's take a look at some of your tweets. All right, we have Mr. Shongwe here saying it's a gain for MK, a big loss for the EFF. Floyd is brilliant, but let's watch what these politicians have for the country. Abongile says, I believe this is a tactical move to consolidate the leftist revolutionary agenda in South Africa. This is the Progressive Caucus adjusting to the current political environment with another eye on the upcoming local and national elections. Interesting times. Jabulo says, he's a very intelligent guy. I just hope he made a good decision. Changing Faces says, good move for Floyd. MK needs a good strategic politician. Who else? None other than previous opposition Deputy President Floyd. And this should worry ANC. Now they have to focus on two opposition. This will surely be interesting. Elections 2029. There is a possibility of a new government. All right, quite a lot more tweets. Lebo Mokwena says, here's a careerist. He may leave. The EFF remains resolute and steadfast in the pursuit of economic freedom in our lifetime. All right, some very interesting views there. Thank you very much for engaging with us. We shift our focus to this story now. Now, in December 2023, the Department of Water and Sanitation reported decline in quality and increasing losses of South Africa's urban water infrastructure. Many areas lack reliable basic services due to dysfunctional infrastructure. This has been the case even in many formal settings over and above where informal facilities like communal toilets and tap stands have been running dry. What can be done to fix this? Well, Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation David Mahlobo is facing the nation tonight. Good evening, Deputy Minister. Thank you very much for joining us on Face the Nation. So we have reported on a looming water crisis for a while now. The failing infrastructure and the ever-increasing population are, of course, exacerbating the situation. And I must say, some experts say we're being too generous or downplaying the severity of the problem. They say it's not a looming water crisis. We're, in fact, in a crisis akin to the challenges being faced by Eskom currently. Deputy Minister, have we reached crisis point?
Mfunda, thank you very much, and evening to your viewers. There are two aspects when it comes to water that is being addressed. The first question is to say, will we have water until 2030 and beyond? The answer is a definite yes. Our country, as we stand right now, has the availability of water in terms of water balance. But there are areas of localized deficit. Yes. Like so in areas like Nelson Mandela Bay and others, on the basis that there's also the question of climate change. But what are we doing? As a national government, more than 110 billion rand projects are being speeded up. They have actually been brought back to life. They've been delayed before. As we are aware, the question of the Lesotho Phase 2, where the Polihali Dam, President went there last year in Lesotho, in the Kingdom of Lesotho. He never did sword turning because the work has already started. We should be able to meet that deadline of 2028, in as much as there was a delay. But in the current system, because if you look at the integrated...
But some are fearful, pardon me for interjecting there, Deputy Minister, but some are fearful that those delays could see us facing some sort of a crisis, because there's also the maintenance that must take place between October now and next year.
Mfunda, those who are saying that they are doomsayers, the reality, as I was saying to you, when you look at water, you look at two components. It's a question of the availability, which is the issues of where the source will come from. As you look at that particular delay, the current system that feeds into the Vaal River system that provides Gauteng, Mpumalanga, certain parts of Free State, and certain parts of Northwest. That system, as we stand currently, is very healthy. But where the biggest problems are is on the other side, which is the issues of provisioning and the delivery, which is mostly the municipal functioning. And as you are correctly saying, our report that we gave last year indicates a number of challenges, but we have engaged with local government on two issues around the implementation model and the funding model. In the implementation model, municipalities that don't have the capacity to do both the issue of water provision and being a water authority, there is an agreement now that we need to look at a mechanism like we're implementing at Mfuleni of a special purpose vehicle where we don't take over a municipal entity called Menzi Alikwa, but also Rainwater. They are forming an SPV. They will be able to deliver water with that capability of Rainwater, but the entity, the municipality, will have a share. You go to Mpumalanga and Nelspruit as an example, there is issues around concession agreement, which is one of the biggest issues. But municipalities around financing and fund, one of the things that we say is that they must increase their bulk infrastructure, especially the reservoirs. In Gauteng in the main, Rainwater is pumping more water, but we don't have sufficient storage because the population grew, and at the very same time, the issues of the leaks that are there. I'm happy to say you go to Johannesburg, MMC Tata Morello has put a lot of money. They are starting to do a lot of reservoirs here in Tshwane, but in high-lying areas, we have to be in a position to put booster pump station and an ongoing maintenance. But on our own side, we say that even private sector would have the biggest role to play because alone in terms of the fiscus, around the issues of the backlogs and the issues of reliability, where access to water infrastructure is around 90%, but the availability of the water in the tap in certain municipalities on average is 67%, others are down as far as 28%.
Now, Deputy Minister, you started off by stating that the real question is whether we'll have water beyond 2030. For some, that has never been the point. What is the point now? At least the ESI report states that what we're going to see is a deficit of 17% beyond 2030. So there will be water relatively, but a number of people won't have water because just today, residents of Nongoma and KZN were protesting, saying they're tired of fighting with wild and domestic animals for water. And 2030 is approaching, if we remember correctly, because the National Development Plan, at least insofar as your goals among them, is that by 2030 you need to achieve that milestone of ensuring that all South Africans have access to clean running water in their homes.
Mfunda, we should not conflate issues. When you speak about water security, we are answering the question to say, where will be the water source? In our country, as I'm saying, in terms of the water balance in the system, there will not be a problem. There can only be a problem if government will choose to do nothing. But when it comes to issues of water security, I'm giving you the issues that more than 110 billion rand project, whether in KwaZulu-Natal, whether in Mpumalanga, whether in the Western Cape, those are the matters that deals with the issues where water will come from. But South Africa has also unexplored groundwater, which is actually lying there in terms of the aquifers. And we're saying groundwater is part of the mix. We should be able to use more groundwater, and in certain communities is there. South Africa is actually discharging a lot of effluent into many rivers here, sometimes partially or unpartially treated. What we say that recycle that water so that you can be able to use it for other uses. Already is happening in parts of Gauteng, in Limpopo, where effluent is used by the mining sector. In other words, the issue of recycling and reuse is the biggest option that we need to be able to do. Mines in South Africa is a traditional mining country. We have a lot of groundwater here. It's full of acids, it's full of sulfates, all those heavy metals. You do acid mine drainage. In other words, you reclaim water that is there. The mix is not a problem.
Thank you very much, Minister. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I hope we can invite you again to just discuss this particular matter of a water or looming water crisis, as many have said, in depth. Thank you very much yet again for joining us. That was Deputy Minister for Water and Sanitation, David Mahlobo, speaking to us. And that's where I leave it for tonight. Clement is back next week. Enjoy your evening.